Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Happy, what is it? Wednesday, April 2nd. About one behind here. 1 minute behind here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for being here, everybody. Got a fun show lined up today. Got a good show lined up today. Some incredible basketball last night. Some really, really good basketball that affects the Lakers. Some positively, some negatively. Just some really, really good basketball last night. So thank you for being here on this Wednesday morning. We got a packed show today as well. We do have a guest today as well. I got a quote here for everybody to get the show started. So thank you for hanging out. If you have yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. Let me give everyone a quick quote here. I'll start looking at the comments. If anybody's got a good quote they want to share with everybody, fire away. Let everybody know. We'll all take a look at it. All right. Here's the quote I got for today. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. I think what we're saying here is let's not rush with our decisions. You know what I mean? Not rush with our decisions. If you got another quote here that you want to share, feel free to do so. We lob a quote up there every morning. And like I said, we got a packed show. We got a packed show. Let me give everyone just a quick little rundown here, little breakdown of what we got. Somebody saying clean-shaven sleep. Yeah, yesterday was a little bad, not going to lie. Yesterday was, just kind of a lot going on yesterday. I got a little lazy. All right, let's let me give everyone just a quick rundown here, what we got going on for the show. We'll get things started. All right, first off, the Lakers get a little time off. What do you mean they didn't play last night? What do you mean they're not playing tonight? So much needed time off for the Lakers, 100% some much needed time for the Lakers. We'll just talk a little bit how you got 7 games left in the season. You got 2 more back-to-backs left. We'll talk about what the Lakers have in front of them, and then obviously getting a little bit of time off was big. Western Conference is all over the place. I don't know what the hell to make about yesterday. I do not know what to make about yesterday. Holy Jesus. You had the Golden State Warriors going to Memphis. Memphis in a complete collapse, by the way. They are in complete collapse mode right now, so something to keep in mind there. All right, you got that game that went off. And then you got, obviously, you got the other mix here of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets going to a double overtime game. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about those games as well, because I do think those games have a lot of significance to the Lakers. I want to play out some playoff scenarios. There, I didn't even know this existed. I don't know how I didn't know this existed. I should have known this existed. There is a playoff probabilities page, and it just kind of gives you percentage of what percentage Lakers probably will be the number 4 seed or the 5 seed. Who's the most likely matchup that they go up against? So we'll play out some scenarios. Frankly, I got some teams I'd like to avoid in the first round. I think if the playoffs started today, I'm a little concerned to some of those scenarios, but still 7 games left. So obviously a lot can change. So we'll look at that. Also have this, there was Bill Simmons was talking on his podcast about the Mark Williams trade not happening. And there was something along the lines of, are you sure you really didn't want Mark Williams? So I looked at some of his numbers. He's kind of been balling out for Charlotte. We'll take a quick look at that. There were some different tiers in the Athletic of championship contenders. Lakers, tier 1. I don't know about that. Not sure. But we'll take a look at that. Guest today, Lauren Jones. So Lauren Jones, she's kind of a cool story, but she's been covering the Lakers now for a while. She's at every single Lakers game. She's asking questions to JJ Redick, asking questions to the players and everything else. But her and I known each other for a little while, and I'm glad we're able to connect today. She's got her own little media company. She's out there making things happen, and she's going to come join the show at about 8:30. So we'll welcome her to the program. Got a couple things on the in Major League Baseball. Jackson Merrill signs an extension with the San Diego Padres. He's a complete stud. Dodgers and the Padres still have not lost a game. Again, no surprise on the Dodgers. They got one of the I don't even know what to talk about with that lineup. Now you got Dustin May coming in and handling business as well. So we'll get into that a little bit. And then, of course, on Wednesdays, we got Ask Lee. So we'll close out the show with Ask Lee. Kind of, to be honest with you, we're chilling today. So I'm not in a rush or anything else. I know sometimes I got to run, but today we're chilling. So thank you very much for being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out. Looking forward to doing the show with everybody. And let's get the show started. All right, first thing I'm going to do, let me just take a quick look here, see if anybody got some comments here that's that we can add to what we got. I thought I saw something here. All right, here's a quote. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. And if you're afraid to fail, then you're probably going to fail. Kobe. That's a phenomenal quote. That's a phenomenal quote. Gustavo ain't messing around this morning. He just said, look, happy wife, happy life. I mean, he's not messing around. He's not, there is no just right to the point here for Gustavo. Definitely not messing around. All right, let's see what we got. Christian Torres. Okay. Got my tickets for June Dodgers at Padres. Colossal series. Yeah, I think the Dodger part of it, of them getting off to the start that they have, again, first off, baseball, anybody that starts out 5-0, that's an incredible accomplishment. But with that in mind, I think, I guess, less of a surprise for one squad and then more surprise for another. All right, let's get the show started. Let's get things started here. So Lakers getting a little bit of time off. They're chilling. Kind of weird for me as well. Probably weird for all of us, right? If you're a big NBA fan and you got your squad, it's like you don't typically get 2 days off right before. You don't typically get 2 days off at this stage of the season. They're just cranking out games. I think we counted them. Didn't we say Lakers had 5 back-to-backs in the month of March? I want to say it was 5 back-to-backs is what the Lakers had. So, obviously looking at what the schedule has been, it's odd to have 2 straight evenings without the Lakers playing a game. Just 2 back-to-backs left. 2 back-to-backs left. Still got the 4th toughest schedule left in the entire league. So 4th toughest schedule left in the league. 7 games left for the Lakers. We know just how – I'll get into the standings in just a second, but we know just how wildly close all these teams are in the Western Conference. And yesterday, Lakers got a little bit of help, but they also got a team kind of breathing right down their neck that they got tomorrow in the Golden State Warriors, and we'll get into that. I'm trying to look here. Okay, you got 7 games left, and I think there's some games that are must-wins you got to have. There's no negotiation for. There's some games that I would call them up in the air. And then you got the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know what the hell to think about them. So tomorrow night, we know Lakers got the Golden State Warriors. I'll say this, in their last 7 games, I don't know how many wins it's going to take to go past the Houston Rockets. And luckily enough, you got one more game against the Rockets. I don't know how many games it would take to just hold on to the spot that you'd be in. I don't know how many games it would take to fall back and you end up in the, you lose home court in the first round. But I do know this, looking at the rest of the schedule, New Orleans and Portland, you have to have. Those are 2 games. If you got 7 games left and we're trying to kind of calculate how many games they're going to have, I know you got to have those 2. I think the game's up in the air, believe it or not. Kind of think Dallas is up in the air, believe it or not. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think there's going to be a lot riding in that game. Tomorrow against the Golden State Warriors, I don't think I need to tell anybody that's a tough game. Houston, we just got to watch them a couple nights ago. That was on Sunday night. We know how difficult and how tough of a matchup that was against the Rockets. 3 of those 3 games right there, I think, are kind of up in the air. And then I think you're hoping for a split against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is it. As we sit here today, this is kind of this is what makes an NBA regular season fun. This is what makes playoff scenarios fun. It's what makes last night fun. If you were kicking back and you were watching games and you were saying to yourself, okay, well, what has to happen in this? Who do you prefer wins, the Warriors or the Grizzlies? Or, you're looking at that game against Denver and Minnesota. And we know, obviously, what Laker fans were rooting for yesterday in regards to that game. But I say all that, every single night is exciting. Even if the Lakers don't play a game, it's exciting. Tonight, I'm just trying to see here. You got Jazz Rockets. All right, we already know what that one's going to be. Spurs are playing Denver. We basically already know what that's going to be. Pelicans are playing the Clippers. You kind of already know what's going to happen tonight. But every single night, whether the Lakers are playing or they're not, there's so much riding on each one of these games and each one of these positions. I want to go back to last night here real quick, and then that's going to lead me into a little bit of a conversation about some of the playoff probabilities that we got coming up. Two really, really important games last night in the Western Conference. You had the Memphis Grizzlies hosting the Golden State Warriors. That was the first game, and then the nightcap game was Minnesota and the Denver Nuggets. So Memphis hosted the Warriors. Memphis trying to hang on the standings. I don't know if you guys remember me saying this. I feel like I've been saying it now for the last couple of days. I don't even think, we were looking at Memphis and the Lakers in that 4-5 matchup. And then you kind of reach a point where you're like, Memphis is not holding on to that number 5 spot, nor are they moving up to beat to pass the Lakers at the number 4 spot, especially after they lost on Saturday. And here the Memphis Grizzlies now, they could very, very easily find themselves falling out of the playoff picture, being in the play-in tournament, and who knows if they even are good enough to be in a 7-game set. I think they are, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot of other teams playing a lot better than them. So Grizzlies playing or hosting the Golden State Warriors yesterday. By the way, this is crazy too. If you look at the Grizzlies and you look at their last 10 games, all the teams around them, 7-3, 8-2, 7-3. Here are the Grizzlies, 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row. They are just nosediving. They fire their head coach. Who the hell fires your head coach in late March, right before the playoffs are going to start? Pretty idiotic, if you ask me. And then here they are taking on the Golden State Warriors. Did Steph Curry drop 52 with 12 threes and go 52, 8, and 10 last night? I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about the Golden State Warriors, but if the playoffs started today, it's Lakers-Warriors in the first round. I am not trying to face the Golden State Warriors in the first round. The last scenario that I want to see for the Lakers is the spot that they're sitting in right now, which is the 4-5 matchup, where you got the Golden State Warriors in the first round. And then if you pass the Warriors, who are balling out since they got Jimmy Butler, obviously have championship pedigree everywhere you look on that team and on that franchise. They're sitting at 44-31. They're shooting up the standings. I remember there was a time you're looking at at Golden State. Where were they? 9th or 10th or something like that in the standings. And then I swear every night it looks like, did they just move up again? Wait, did they just go from 9th to 8th? Are they 8th to 7th? Are they now avoiding the play-in? Are they now trying to still have a shot? I don't think they'll pass the Lakers in this regards. And I know tomorrow, the good news for the Lakers is they got the Warriors on a 2-game cushion in the loss column, and they also got the Warriors on a tiebreaker. So Lakers, they're in a pretty good spot. I guess, let's see, tiebreaker here, come down to division. That's how they would pass the Nuggets. Yeah, tomorrow becomes a very, very big game for the Lakers. With that in mind, Golden State is absolutely balling out. So last night they take on Memphis. They win again on the road. Jimmy Butler, who I'm not even talking about because I'm too busy talking about Steph Curry having 12 threes, 52, 10, and 8 in the game. I think he had 27. I think he only took 11, 12 shots. He was incredibly efficient. Now you got the Golden State Warriors that are right in the mix here with the Lakers and all these other teams. I'm not even going to talk about tomorrow's game yet. I'm going to kind of keep things moving because we know how big that game is going to be, and I'll get into that in just a second. I'll go back to the Warriors. That was the first game of the doubleheader that they had on TNT. The second game was the Nuggets hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota wins in double OT. They didn't have Nasri. They didn't have Dante DiVincenzo because of that altercation that they had with the Detroit Pistons. So both of those guys were suspended. That win for the Minnesota Timberwolves puts the Lakers a half a game from the number 3 spot. It didn't even matter that Nikola Jokic dropped 61 points and had 10 rebounds and 10 assists. Are we even paying any attention to what some of these individual players are doing? Did you guys hear what I just said? Steph had 12 threes yesterday, 52, 10, and 8. Nikola Jokic had 61 points, 10 and 10. And we see the style, the way those two guys play the game. They're not selfish. Obviously, completely different, polar opposite type of players, polar opposite positions and everything else. And people like to point out how the NBA is, that the game isn't pretty and it's not beautiful and what's going on with the NBA. I think a lot of people just want to avoid when the NBA is phenomenal. They don't want to give credit where credit's due. Those were the two games last night. As we sit here today, this is the dust that settles as the Lakers get a chance to go play the Golden State Warriors coming up tomorrow. Denver, half game in front of the Lakers, holding on for dear life to that number 3 spot. I think if I told you guys a best and worst case scenario in the playoffs to start, and I know what people are going to say, doesn't matter who you play. You're going to have to face these guys anywhere. You shouldn't be avoiding teams right now. I'm not telling you that you avoid teams, but I'm going to tell you what my preferences are. My preference is please get in that number 3 spot. There is a wild difference between number 3 and number 4 in the Western Conference. Now, I know there's still a bunch of scenarios that can still play out. I know that, as we sit here today, so much can happen with just 7 games left and about a week and a half left in the regular season. It's very, very exciting, by the way, just because each one of these nights, there's something at stake, it seems like. There is a wild, wild difference between 3 and 4. If the Golden State Warriors lock up that number 5 spot, which, they only have a half game lead on Memphis. You got Memphis, Minnesota, and the Clippers, all 32 losses. You got Golden State with 31 losses. But if you told me that your path to get to the Western Conference Finals, as an example, is Memphis in the first round, Houston in the second round, and yes, Houston, it looks like, would have home court. You're not going to tell me that's not wildly different than the Golden State Warriors in the first round and OKC in the second round? That sounds like a team that's got a legitimate shot of getting to the Western Conference Finals and taking their chances there. And another scenario that can play out where, Golden State in the first round, OKC in the second. I mean, I could be as optimistic as I want as a Laker fan. That's a tough, tough path. That's a really, really tough path. So watching those games yesterday, you obviously got a chance to kind of see, okay, well, what does this look like? What does it happen here? I saw something that I should have noticed this down the road. They have playoff probabilities on Basketball Reference. They got these playoff probabilities. Let me share this with you guys. We can look at it together. Let me see what we got here. I hope today is one of those days where every single outlet out there is talking about how special the NBA was last night. Because I think we all know this, and this is just kind of the world that we live in. Man, everyone loves shitting on the NBA. They just absolutely love demolishing the NBA. For whatever reason, they love it. They love doing it. And as I sit here, and if you're going to do that, and that's how you're going to look at the NBA, can you at least from last night's game, look back and say, wow, the NBA is special with a guy like Nikola Jokic in the league. The NBA is special to have a player like Steph Curry in the league. The NBA is special to have those two teams have, obviously the game. By the way, Ja Morant was really good for the Memphis Grizzlies. Jokic, Denver didn't even win the game, so it shows you what Ant did and all these other players, especially missing 2 key players from the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just hope there's a little bit of love that goes to the league because it feels like there's only negativity that goes to the league, even when good things happen. Okay, so Basketball Reference, I'm sharing this with you guys here. It's showing out playoff kind of like predictions here, what's most likely. Okay, so let me show you guys this. This is the Lakers. Obviously, they got no chance to be the number 1 seed. They only have a 3.6% chance to be the number 2 seed. So really what you're looking at here, they got about a 26% chance for number 3, 37% chance for number 4, and about a 17% chance for number 5. Okay? I'm just kind of playing out some of these scenarios. The Warriors, 22.8% chance at number 5. And then Minnesota, a 20. And this probably has something to do with tiebreakers, strength of schedule, and everything else. You could also get Minnesota in the first round if you're in that number 4 or 5 spot. Right now, technically, it would be Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Look at all these different scenarios that are still playing out. Even a team like Memphis, 19% chance at number 6, 31% chance at number 7, 13% chance. The point I'm trying to make is there are still so many scenarios that are playing out. And if you thought that some of these games that the Lakers have been playing over the course of these, let me give you an example. Take the Houston Rockets or take the Memphis Grizzlies game on Saturday, where we all still trying to figure out what the hell happened against Chicago. And then, you kind of start watching to see, all right, well, is this kind of what the Lakers are going to be? Are the Lakers just going to struggle? They lost that game to the Bulls. They got a chance of going 1-3 on this road trip. Is this kind of what the Lakers are? And then all of a sudden they get that win against the Memphis Grizzlies. It's like, all right, there's some positivity right there. Then they get that win against the Houston Rockets, a tough game against Houston. And Lakers will get a chance to see them again here before the regular season ends. Now you got the Golden State Warriors coming up tomorrow. I mean, if you could figure out a way, tomorrow's going to be a dogfight. And tomorrow I'm going to have Anthony Slater on, who covers the Golden State Warriors. So that's going to be a good conversation that we could have together. But you want to talk about playoff positioning. You want to talk about, I mean, if I'm the Golden State Warriors, do I want the Lakers in the first round? I'm sure there's maybe a little bit of hesitation there. For them, they might be saying, yeah, we'd rather play the Lakers than the Denver Nuggets. I have no idea. I don't know matchup-wise what they would prefer, anything like that. But if you're the Lakers, if you thought that game against Memphis was big, you thought that game against Houston was big, and now you're sitting here where the Lakers are with some of these other teams and all these other teams around you, it's just wild to look at how close everybody is. Lakers could still play the Clippers in the first round. They could play Minnesota in the first round. They could play Memphis in the first round. They could play Golden State in the first round. If Denver maybe collapsed, there's maybe a scenario where they play the Nuggets in the first round. I mean, you got so many different scenarios, but all I'm saying is this. It would be very, very nice to not have to play the Golden State Warriors in the first round, followed by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round. That's all I'm trying to say. That's the only point that I'm trying to get. All right, let me take a look at some of the comments here, see what everybody's got to say. Luka had a 60-point triple-double in a win. That's right. He did. I was just talking about yesterday's game. Slee, I was rooting so hard for Minnesota last night when Westbrook strikes again. Russ has been doing good for them out there. He's handled his business out there. Nuggets, Denver Wolves game was just an insane game. If Minnesota ends up the number 8 seed, OKC, I would love that. Yeah, listen, I'm gonna give myself a migraine, but all these matchups. All right, how about right now if the playoffs started? How about Minnesota, Houston in the first round? You don't think that's a phenomenal matchup? Clippers would take on OKC in the first round. Memphis would take on Denver, and then the Lakers would play the Golden State Warriors. Get a couple more of these in here. And then I want to do something real quick on that Mark Williams stuff I was talking about on the podcast with Bill Simmons. They mostly report negativity on the NBA, and things like a 60-point triple-double gets ignored. That's kind of the point that I was trying to make. If people want to bitch and complain about the NBA, that's fine. Okay, it comes with the territory. Guys, load management. Okay, whatever you want to say. But can we also take a second and just appreciate how special those two games were last night, those performances that were going on last night? Let's get another one in here. I think Golden State will be a good matchup and less stress on LeBron and Luka. Golden State doesn't have the bigs. Warriors are going to be a headache. I think Warriors are going to be a headache. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, not worried about the Warriors. Hopefully Steph comes out shooting bricks tomorrow. It's a good game tomorrow. I'll be there, by the way. Dallas will be a tough game. This one's kind of sneaky tough. You know, if you go look at the schedule and you just say, "Oh, well, it's the Mavs." No. That will be tough. First game, Luka's back in Dallas. Anthony Davis certainly, I'm sure, feels a certain way about the Lakers and the organization, and they're fighting for playoff seeding. They're trying to just stay in the playing tournament, which I think they're going to, especially now with KD missing a week of games or whatever the case is. They got a 2-game cushion on the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix has lost 4 in a row. Sacramento is losing, so they might end up in that number 9 spot. Hell, you know, we're not talking about Dallas. Maybe Dallas is one of the teams that sneaks in and has the Oklahoma City in the first round. We'll see. But obviously, without Kyrie Irving, there's only so much that they're going to be able to do. Okay, let me keep moving here because I want to get to one more topic here before we have our guest on, Lauren Jones. Okay, so there was an article out there, podcast out there. Bill Simmons does his podcast on The Ringer. There's an NBA reporter, Chris Vernon, said the Lakers will regret rescinding that deal from Mark Williams. Let me just kind of set this up real quick. And I know this is well past when that trade happened, but Mark Williams is putting up some numbers. And for those that, you know, look at the Lakers and say, hey, are they going to have enough size, rebounding, this, that? Let me just read off the quote here. It says, I think they're going to regret calling off the Mark Williams thing. He's joking around now that he's playing like Bill Russell, but my God, they have nothing at the rim, nothing. He talked a little bit about the game against the Memphis Grizzlies. I think Memphis had damn near 70 points in the paint last night. I mean, there's just nothing once you drive past them. Austin Reeves, you can drive past. LeBron, you know, is not the defensive player that he once was. Maybe that'll change in the playoffs. There's nobody really there to dissuade you. They'll play Jackson Hayes. They'll play Jared Vanderbilt. They'll play whoever. Somebody that could get to the basket a lot is going to give them problems. All right, not earth-breaking, shattering news. I think everybody knows there's a reason why they were trying to get Mark Williams. Physical didn't pass on the Lakers side, so that's why the Lakers moved away from it. So I looked real quick. I'm like, all right, well, what is Mark Williams doing that is making these people talk about Mark Williams like that? All right, I'm just going to look at his last 5 games. 19-14, 14-5, 8-13. By the way, all these games, 2 or 3 blocks on top of that. 18-12, 18-13. Man's putting up numbers. I'm not saying that the guy's not putting up numbers. But I'm going to hesitate here for a quick second. Let me tell you guys what I mean by that. Would the Lakers probably be better off this season with Mark Williams? Yeah, I get it. And if you guys see, the Lakers are using Dalton Connect less and less after every game, it seems like. He's not getting all that much time, especially now that everybody's back. So Mark Williams would obviously had a real role for the Lakers, been a key rotational player. Like, I think we all understand that. I still hesitate on if a man they think does not have, who already, by the way, has had health issues in the past, if they don't think that it made sense and you got back that draft pick and you got back Dalton Connect, it is very enticing to think Mark Williams, that's the type of player he is and what he could have been for the Lakers this young of an age and how he would have fit with Luka. And, oh, by the way, you get Jackson Hayes coming off the bench, so you kind of really don't miss that lob threat that the Lakers have anytime that anybody's on the floor, Austin Reeves, LeBron, Luka, whatever the case is. Yes, that's going to be an issue. Yes, that probably will come back and hurt them come postseason if the matchup is not right. Yes, the Lakers have done an incredible job with the lack of size they have of kind of making up for it. Still okay with them rescinding that trade. It's enticing. You know how much they can use it. Still okay with them not making that trade. But that's the first time that I actually saw somebody bring up, kind of go that far back to bring it up in regards to what he could potentially be or what that player would have been. The only thing that I will say this on this portion of it, they're also probably not going to use Dalton Connect that much. They're probably not going to use Dalton Connect all that much in the playoffs. You guys have already kind of seen this, and we've talked about it. We talked about what's the depth for the Lakers. How many different players do they have? How many different players how many players are you going to really use in the playoffs and in the postseason anyways? I'll break it down a little bit for you. LeBron, Austin Reeves, Luka, Jackson Hayes, Jared Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, and, Gabe Vincent. There's 7 right there. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. And Rui Hachimura. There's 8 right there. So how many minutes really is Dalton Knecht going to get? How many minutes is Dalton going to get on a night in, night out basis? I think it's a fair question. Probably not as much as we're hoping for. Okay, want to welcome in our guest here. Very nice of joining the show. Very nice of introduce her here to Hoops Talk and being a part of the show. Lauren Jones in the house. What's going on, Lauren?
Hey, what's going on, Slee? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you. What is going on with you?
Well, it's another year for me. It's my birthday today, so I'm just, I'm celebrating, but also focused in on Lakers. We have practice today, so want to wrap up the season strong. Excited.
All right, so what time's practice today? 11-ish?
11:45, yeah.
11:45, okay. Mm-hmm. So you'll work your way down there. You get out to El Segundo.
Yes, sir.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
It's
Look
my
at
magic
you.
year, so, I'm hoping for some magic in the playoffs.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so, it's kind of funny. So you and I, you hit me with a text on, let's see, when did Ryan Hollins come on? Monday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and you and I have chatted before. We chat all the time when we, see each other at Laker games and everything else. But I love the timing of this because you hit me on Monday, and I think you felt like a lot of other people felt when Ryan Hollins was, and I love me some Ryan Hollins. That's a friend of mine. I've known him for a while. But he came out with his chest out like the Houston Rockets.
Absolutely.
We're just gonna come in and punk the Lakers like the Lakers got nothing to play for. And you start hitting me with a text like it's almost like you were ready to go.
Right.
You were ready to get into that game.
The way he was talking about this Rockets team, and we have seen, that they've had such a great stretch over the last 12, 13 games. It did make me a little nervous. I'm like, okay, the Lakers, we haven't seen them in quite a while, and the way he was talking about how Ime Udoka had the team, really locked in, how, these guys want to show up for the game, which every team, wants to show up against the Lakers. But, I was thinking after this road trip, we don't know how the Lakers are going to be at home. They've been great at home to date, but it was just a little bit of the extra oomph that you needed to get back in the mindset, like, okay, this 3-game homestand, take care of business, Lakers. Every team's going to be gunning for you per usual. So,
yeah, I was in my own head. I'm like, my God, is Ime Udoka giving speeches to the TV analysts too?
Right. Because the way Ryan Hollins was,
he had him sold.
Yeah, absolutely, he did. Well, no. I mean, we see what happened, but
okay. So I'll say this, and we got a lot to get into, so it's going to be fun to have a conversation with you. And for those who don't know Lauren's at every Lakers game. You're at a lot of the G League games too. You're there a lot of the South Bay games as well. Does a fantastic job covering the team. Has her own media company, and that's kind of what she represents on a night in, night out basis. LOJO Media. So shout out to what you're doing there.
Thank you.
But let me go back here real quick to that Rockets game, because it's kind of funny, and then we could start talking about the West and what the heck tomorrow is going to be when it's Lakers and the Warriors, which is going to be fun.
Yes. Potentially a playoff preview.
What'd you think of Houston? Because I actually was very impressed with Houston, and it's not that I don't know that they're talented, because clearly if you're this many games over 500 in the Western Conference and you're in the number 2 seed with a 2-game cushion, you got to be doing something right. But that team looks like that's a very, very tough out in the playoffs for whoever gets them. And I know a lot of these teams are going to be tough outs, but what'd you make of the Rockets?
Yeah, I think that they're a young, hungry team that obviously has a tremendous amount of talent. Them adding Steven Adams and having some of that veteran balance has definitely helped to bolster their roster. I saw that they obviously are extremely gritty, similar to kind of how the Lakers play. They are eager to win. Jalen Green, obviously is a talent there. Şengün, they have just a wealth of talent. I think when I look at them in the playoffs, however, the lack of experience collectively is what I kind of forecast as being not as difficult of a matchup for a team like the Lakers that has such a wealth of playoff experience. But in terms of what I saw on Monday, they didn't shoot as well as they probably could. They were missing shots, especially in the first half, which kept the Lakers in the game, for lack of a better term. But I do think that they have the ability to turn it on. And if those shots are falling, then they're going to be a dangerous team to see.
Yeah, Van Vliet struggled. Jalen Green struggled. So you're right that a lot of those guys were missing. We're missing their jumpers. I feel like they're a year away from making some real noise.
Agreed. Yeah, I definitely could see that. And obviously this experience, this upcoming playoffs will give them some of that necessary. Like you see kind of OKC, they've had that experience where last season, the lack of playoff experience collectively with the young team wasn't able to, really sustain a long playoff run. But I do think that with some of that experience under their belt, in addition to the coaching and, the buy-in from the players, that they will probably go deep next year. I agree that they are probably about a year away.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be for them. They're going to need, I don't know who their go-to guy is to close out a game. Right. Lakers have obviously a number. Every team does. Whether it's if I say, okay, who closes out a game for the Golden State Warriors, you could say, okay, well, Steph or Jimmy.
Yes.
Obviously, both have played that role for years. If I say the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're like, okay, Anthony Edwards. If I say Nicole, or if I say Denver, we got an answer to that. I don't know if we have an answer to that for Houston.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the default I would think would be Jalen, but. Again, if he's having an off night or if they get into a struggle, I don't know that's, he could play himself out of that position. And so yeah, I agree that hasn't been clearly defined on that team, but, looking forward to seeing them again once more as the
we got one more. Yeah, we got one more against them.
Kind of, what lessons they've learned from that game. I expect it to be, another close battle. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
All right. What do you, you'll be there tomorrow, right?
I'll be there tomorrow and Friday. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will be there tomorrow as well. And, I'm trying to think here. And I know it's a regular season game. Now, here's part of the difference here. There's still so much riding in the West and so many teams jockeying for position. And, I think for the Lakers, if there's a way that you can pass Denver and maybe avoid that Warrior team in the first round, maybe avoid OKC till further down the road. Sounds like a much better scenario, but we'll see what happens. And maybe that's not an option. Tomorrow's going to, if you thought Monday felt like a playoff game just because of the style of play, just because, what was at stake, tomorrow feels like it's like the Western Conference Finals or something. And I know it's not, and I know it's going to be April 3rd, but it just feels like tomorrow's got a lot of hype behind that game with two teams that really a lot of unfamiliar faces going up against each other, representing those jerseys with Jimmy Butler, with Luka.
Yes.
What do you expect tomorrow?
Well, like you mentioned, we haven't seen these teams in these forms match up, post All-Star break. That's when obviously Luka and Jimmy both made their debuts, and the Lakers have not played the Warriors since then. So I think this is going to be a very interesting potential playoff matchup. And just the history between the Lakers and the Warriors in general, it always feels like a playoff game, if you will, the environment, just because of the Steph LeBron. Obviously, there's a lot of fanfare there, and just the success of both of those franchises in recent history and just historically. But I think in terms of tomorrow's matchup, it's going to be very interesting and telling about where this Lakers team is once again. I mean, they've continued to have tests throughout these last few weeks with some of these top playoff contenders that, we will see kind of how Jimmy Butler, the style is in person. Obviously they've won some big games. They won against Denver recently at Denver. They've had
at Memphis yesterday too.
At Memphis, yeah. Mm-hmm. So they've had some of these big wins as well in the West against Western Conference opponents that they will see potentially in the playoffs as well. So I really think that for the Lakers, it's just going to be another test. Personally, I know that we're going to get to it in a little bit, but personally, I don't want to see Golden State in the first round. I don't want to see Denver in the first round. Those are the two teams that I would like to stay away from if possible, just because of it's going to take a lot to pull out, the series against them, even if they're not the teams that, as of the past, where Denver was a juggernaut and it was difficult for the Lakers to get over that hump. So in terms of tomorrow's game, I'm expecting, them to put on a show. Barring any health, I believe that everybody's going to be healthy for the Lakers as far as we know so far. So it's going to be a great matchup and definitely, a potential playoff matchup as well.
It's funny when you say you'd like to avoid the Warriors in the first round, Denver in the first round. Just like, okay, what do those teams have in common? Both have championship pedigree.
Yes.
Both understand how to win in the playoffs. Both can kind of, both have MVP caliber players. And I know there's no perfect scenario once you get to the postseason, but doesn't it feel wildly different between the number 3 spot and the number 4 spot? If the playoffs started today, that's the scenario. You not only get Golden State in the first round, but then you got OKC in the Western, or not even in the Western Conference Finals, in the second round.
Yes.
Where I think what we were just talking about, I don't think we're trying to disrespect the Houston Rockets, but if you played out a scenario where you had Memphis in the first round, or Clippers or Minnesota, I mean, you kind of name any of those teams, and it's again, it's not that they don't have talent, but a lot of those teams, I think over a 7-game set, I would feel a lot more comfortable with. And I think something
100%.
that you mentioned too, it's even if you get out of the first round, if you got Warriors in the first round, but just the grind to get out of that first round, and then you got the Thunder waiting for you.
Exactly. Like, that's not a reward, even if you close out in, let's say a gentleman's sweep, it's still that, like, you're going to need all of those days of rest. And then by the time you get to the Western Conference Finals, then you're exhausted, right? I mean, obviously, yes, LeBron has had an incredible year at year 22 at age 40, but we would like to give him enough rest. Like Rui obviously has just gone through this spurt. He's mentioned that he's not 100%. So as much rest as these guys can get, as much of the, scenarios where there's home court advantage and then, potentially a sweep at least a gentleman's sweep. Those matchups are the ones that I would welcome more so than some of these teams that have, like you said, the championship pedigree and are going to probably, put it to 7 games. But
Okay. I'm going to, this is us, just you and I kind of guessing here together, but let me play out the final 7 games. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you just tell me if you think it's a W or an L.
Okay. I got you.
And here's why, Lauren. I think it's because every game is so critical at this point for everybody. You know, the only team that the Thunder they might as well go to Cancun.
Ran away with it.
Go to Cancun for 2 weeks and come back. And
don't do that. Actually, maybe you should.
And by the way, even if they did that, they'd still have about a week before the playoffs start. So, all right. Every one of these games obviously are going to be critical. And, as we were kind of just talking about the difference between the 3 spot or the 4 spot, everything is, it's such a small
margin.
Small margin can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Warriors tomorrow. What do you think?
I'm going to go with sneaking out a W.
I think they win tomorrow too.
I think they win. Like I said, the Lakers have had one of the best records at home. They've defended home court well, and I think that they know how important these games are. Again, Jimmy Butler is the next factor. Seeing as we have not seen, this Warriors team that are coming, but they're also, coming off of 1 day's rest. The Lakers have had two days off. So I'm going to go with a Lakers dub, and, hopefully the practice will help today. But I'm going to go with the Lakers.
All right. I think they squeak out a win as well, but if we're
in hard fought game,
right. But if we're sitting here Friday morning and they lost by 3 or 5, that obviously is not a shock or anything like that. Okay. Right. So by the way, in that one, all of a sudden, if you win that game, what it means, but if you lose that game, now Golden State's kind of getting in the mix here of potentially, if you don't finish your regular season right. Okay. So you got the Warriors tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Pelicans on Friday. me and you can suit up with Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. They sat everybody. They don't have
Right.
any. Zion's gone.
Zion's out.
Gone.
Yeah. So they shut
Okay.
everybody down. They're like, okay, season's over. So yeah, I'm gonna say that's a win, even though it's a back-to-back. I'm definitely gonna count on. But also the Lakers and the teams that have been below 500 have found ways to really struggle this season, and lose to teams that should be dubs. So, but I think that the way that the Lakers are playing right now, and just what I've seen from them, they know how important each of these games are. Vando said, DFS have said, everybody has said that they're paying attention very closely to the standings, that they know what's on the line. So I expect them to show up, back to back.
Okay. So by the way, it's a good point, because I think when I was probably sitting here over the last month, and if I would have said, oh, they got Chicago at home, that's a win. They lost.
Yes.
Orlando
losses of the season.
Orlando and Chicago on the road, they lose both of those and then somehow beat Indiana and Memphis. So you explain that to me. The teams over five, the teams in playoff contention, they play well against. Okay, so we got Warriors, we got New Orleans.
Yeah,
I have no idea what to think about these two OKC games.
I'm gonna say we're gonna split it. I'm not sure which way, but I think they'll lose one, win one. Since they have them back to back, I don't expect them to drop both games. Even though they're on the road.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what is OKC like? What's their goal in these games?
Right.
Is the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I can see this happening. They got the Thunder on Sunday. Yeah. I could see the Thunder trying to serve the Lakers one on Sunday on national TV.
Yes.
Maybe I'm off on this one, but
I think you're absolutely right about that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think OKC is gonna, hey, we're playing the Lakers. Everybody's going to be watching this game. Why don't playoffs don't start for another, X amount of weeks, whatever the case is.
Right.
Okay. So you say split versus the Thunder. And I think, I'm very curious to see what that matchup looks like, because kind of similar to how they played Memphis. We hadn't seen a Luka LeBron versus Ja yet, and Desmond Bane and everybody else.
Yeah.
Lakers versus Houston. We hadn't seen a Luka LeBron versus the Houston Rockets in the number 2 seed in the West. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow against the Warriors, it's going to be, again, we don't really have data.
Exactly.
And we have no data against the Thunder as well.
But I think also that's the converse that could work to the Lakers' advantages as well, is that, they have one game to kind of figure out what this OKC team is with LeBron and Luka, that they, so I give them the game on Sunday. I think you're spot on that. And then when they play again, which I believe is Tuesday, then, I think that the Lakers will have some time to regroup, see what it is, and potentially, I don't see them like throwing the whole, they might rest and be, who knows how it will go the second game. But I do think that will be a good sample size for the Lakers to see kind of where they are, matching up against obviously the surefire number 1 seed in the West. And obviously what SGA has been doing, having the MVP season that he has, is, he's going to be ready.
Okay. Sneaky game after OKC that I think people are just assuming is a W. Right. That Dallas game is going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be out there for that game. It's going to be my first road game of this season.
It's a good one to pick. Look at
I was trying to scout ahead of time. I didn't make it to the Boston game at the Garden. There's a couple of arenas that, I really want to check off the bucket list. But I thought, this is I had booked my travel prior to the Kyrie and AD and all the slew of injuries that the Mavs were hit with shortly after the trade. But, seeing Luka return for the first time in Dallas, I think it's definitely obviously going to be a lot of emotions and fanfare on both sides. Obviously, hide Nico from everybody involved. Hopefully he's out of range. But I do think that that's going to be a really good game to see. I think it's a win for the Lakers handily. But even with AD back, I think AD might try to, drop 40 on the head or something.
He will.
And potentially he will. I love AD. I miss him on the team. I miss covering him, but and happy to see that he's back on the court. Obviously, has had a tough go of it as of the last few years with injuries, but I do still see that as a win for the Lakers.
Okay, Houston at home a week from Friday. What do you got?
Okay, I'm gonna go with another squeaky dub. I think the Lakers are gonna get to a 50 game season.
50 wins on the season?
Yeah, I do believe so. And so, potentially I could, be wrong with one of these, like either the Warriors game or the Houston game, because I think, Houston, I don't think that they'll have as many mistakes as they did this first game. Obviously Dylan Brooks is not a fan favorite of Laker fans. He's quite the opposite. Şengün, I don't expect him to have the same kind of game that he did. I think he'll have some more production. So, between I can't call it, but I think one of those games might be an L, and I don't want to, Indian Giver backtrack. So I want to stand on business, 10 toes, but yeah, I think that game against Houston will be another tight one.
Okay, so let's say this. I'm gonna say, kind of based on how tight you think both of those games are.
Yeah.
Let's just say they went 5-2 in their final 7.
Yeah.
I think that gets it done for the number 4 spot, and I think that it makes it very interesting for number 3. But if you go 4-3, or if you went 3-4, I don't know what to tell you. Now all of a sudden you might be losing. I mean, the one thing that they have kind of to their advantage here is they got a lot of tiebreakers on a lot of these teams around them. They already have a 2-game cushion on the Warriors and some of these other teams.
Yes.
So a lot still can kind of, come at play. But if they found a way to go 5-2 against these teams that we're talking about, and you won the ones you were supposed to, and you split between OKC and you split between the Warriors and Houston, whichever one, take an L in one of those games.
Yes.
I think they're getting home court in the first round, but part of the headache in that still means you're probably at number 4, and it means you're probably still facing the Warriors in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're going to see what that looks like. We will revisit this conversation after tomorrow's game, because I think that there's a lot riding on that and the ability to kind of see. But I think home court gives us a lot of advantage. I mean, that is actually the advantage, because playing at Golden State, I went to Chase Center for All-Star. It is unlike any, one of the loudest, arenas and most difficult to play to me, outside of maybe Boston and New York or some of these other, bigger arenas. But the Warriors fans are crazy, obviously. So I think, having home court against the Warriors would be a huge advantage. But also, when I think about these last 7 games, I also think about how important health is for the Lakers going into the playoffs, and, having this ability to really build out this, the chemistry, because if you think about it, the starters that are, starting, so Rui, LeBron, Austin, Luka, and Jackson, they've only played a collective of 7-8 games together starting, so that they need this kind of time to really, gel and mesh before the playoffs start. So I think it's going to be an important stretch for them, and whether they go, slip down to or stand at the 4 seed, or whether they
as long as they're healthy.
As long as they're healthy and have home court, I trust in the Lakers. We believe, for oxymoron there.
Well, they'll get a little bit of, avoid that play, and all of a sudden you get about 5-6 days off. Obviously, that's going to help them. Right. Has LeBron seemed, since LeBron came back?
Yeah.
It's just an assumption here. I got nothing, no intel on this. Still seems like he's trying to get himself figured out again. And that's the part that I think when you say they just got to be healthy, that's the portion to me that I think sticks out the most. He has not looked like the same player before that injury. I mean, there was a point this year he's playing top 7, top 6, top 7 in the league at age 40.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Does it feel like you're
spot on there too. I think we've all kind of noticed that. Both him and Rui have, since they've come back, you can see that they've taken a step back from where they were pre-injury, and before that and the groin is really difficult, because also, Slee, we know that he's had issues with that in the past. I believe it was 2018 that he missed, a series of games. Obviously it was different because this is a strain, but I think it's going to be paramount for LeBron to get the rest he needs, even if in this stretch, because without LeBron and Rui, the Lakers were taking care of business. They were in a lot of these games. Luka and Austin had, established a really great rapport, where they were figuring things out. And so, I do see what you're talking about. I think it's very obvious. Obviously, he's had some of these big moments where, he has the game winner on the road, or he scores those 2 free throws and gets the block at the end of the last game against the Rockets. But I do think that you can see that he's not 100%. And same thing with Rui. He's trying to find his footing again. And it took Austin quite a while, before he got going again, when he came back from his.
Sure.
So like there are some concerns, I think, in terms of the health of the Lakers going into the playoffs. But like also, I just see so much promise when they are clicking the defensive grade, and seeing that the role players in DFS and Gabe step up in these last few games has been really encouraging as well, because obviously the offense has suffered a bit with LeBron kind of taking that step back and them having some off games. So to see the production from those two has really been good over this last stretch. I'm like, keep it going, keep being butt naked wide open.
That's right. That's exactly how they describe it too. Yeah. Okay. I got a quick question here. Sure. Harry, who's in the chat's asking, you got practice after you're going to go to practice. Mm-hmm. So for those who, it's a small number of media that get a chance to go to practice.
Right.
What are the practice like?
Yeah, so it's actually a fun time, because this is when you get to be around all of the fellow beat reporters, and we're all in the media room waiting for to go into see the end of practice. So we don't necessarily get to actually watch the actual practices. By the time that they're like finishing up, their guys are shooting around, whatever have you, is towards the end.
Getting their free throws in, all that stuff.
Getting their free throws in, yes, clowning around, doing the half court logo shots. Luka and DFS going back and forth, or Rui at the other end, or Connect Four, practicing with some of the assistant coaches. So that's a time when you go in, you hear from JJ first. He addresses any injury updates, any questions that the media has. And then we get 1 to 2 players who talk about the upcoming matchup, the game, and any additional fun questions that people want to ask. But normally we keep it pretty, straight laced and focused. The Lakers haven't had a practice in about, a home practice, and I can't remember the last time, at least over a month. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, since before the last road trip. And that's, So we'll see how this goes, but I'm expecting that this will be a good thing for them before this Warriors game. Not sure if they'll have shoot around, because they do have the back-to-back tomorrow, but looking forward to seeing what the Lakers are looking like. And I'm hoping that this Warriors game,
it's good hype. Yeah, there's going to be some good hype for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It's good hype. You got, obviously the game that the Warriors had yesterday, Steph going off the way he did. They're playing good ball. Lakers up and down, and then all of a sudden have 2 critical games, get a win at Memphis, get the win against Houston. So this has got a lot of good hype to it. Okay, so you mentioned this final one, and we're going to let you get out of here.
Oh, yeah, no, all good. All good. So appreciate it.
You mentioned it's your birthday. You mentioned it's your birthday today.
Yeah.
Okay, so timing-wise, no game tonight, which never happens, right?
Right.
It feels like Lakers having 2 days off is impossible.
Yes.
What's the plans? Do you have any plans here? Will you try to celebrate? Will you just stay home and stay on your craft? What are you doing tonight?
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna go to dinner with my mom after, or like an early dinner after practice, because I need all my rest these days. I'm like, we're dwindling down. I don't know what game number it is, but the season is wearing, and preparing for a back-to-back. Obviously, I have to get ready. So looking forward to going to dinner with just a small group of my family, and then I'm just gonna get prepped for tomorrow. Yes, sir. It's 32, so it doesn't. If Flea, I used to be able to do the even if it's a back-to-back, I'm going out, but not these days. Okay, I need all the rest, naps and everything. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I retired at like 25. I'm like, that's it. I'm done.
I'm trying to tell you,
I'm not going out anymore. What's
after USC? I just packed it up, bro. I was like, I can't do it anymore.
Happy hours 4 to 6. That's my time. 6 o'clock, I'm home.
Amen. Like brunch is the only time I might go out. Like it's during the day.
That's hilarious. Well, Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully a
Appreciate
lot
it.
of love from the chat as well. Welcome you
Yeah,
into the show. So thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. I will see you tomorrow.
See you
Lakers and the
tomorrow.
Golden State Warriors.
Yes,
Phenomenal.
sir.
Thank you for being a part of the show. And then let's do this again. We get to the playoffs. Have you back on.
Absolutely. Looking
All right.
forward to it, Slee. See you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Thank you, Lauren. All right. That is Lauren Jones right there. Good work, Lauren. Good work. She's great. Just very knowledgeable in the NBA. Great personality. Always at the games. Doing a great job interviewing and everything else. You know what's kind of cool, and I respect this a lot. She's not even really. She's representing her own company. She's got LOJO Media is the media company that she's representing. Obviously, her own brand, and she's grinding. She's grinding away every single day. So good for her. Great to have her on the show. Okay, we'll take a look at some of the comments here, and then I got a couple other things we're going to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. I am going to throw this out right now. I do got Ask Slee, which is on Wednesday. So if you got some questions that you want to throw in for Ask Slee, put them in, and then I will get to them as we obviously as we continue. So any Ask Slees, throw them in right now. I'm going to take a look at a couple of the quick comments here and then go from there. Let's see what we got here. Think Lakers win tomorrow, but Warriors will show up to make it a game. Yeah, I think it's a toss-up tomorrow. I really do. I think Golden State is trying to prove to themselves as much as everybody else that they're back, they're a real threat, and they're a real headache. And I think for both of these two teams, I think there's something very unique about both of the situations for the Lakers and the Warriors. You trying to send a message to each other right now? Are you trying to, if the Warriors beat the Lakers, then the Warriors now are putting themselves in a position where they still got a shot at the number 4 seed. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like Lakers are going to probably end up top 4 unless there's some colossal failure. If the Lakers, are you trying to make sure you beat the Warriors tomorrow? Maybe you can move the Warriors back and kind of avoid them in the first round. I want to emphasize something. When I say that people say, "Oh, you can't avoid teams, this, all that." I'm not talking about that. If you play the Warriors in the first round, is what it is, and you're going to have to do it. And if you're in the same bracket as the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round, is what it is. But at the same time, look, there are certain matchups that play to your advantage. There are certain teams that you'd prefer to play or avoid to play later on in the playoffs. You guys remember the year that the Lakers made it to the Western Conference Finals? So Darvin Ham is the coach. Lakers are obviously putting themselves in a position where, obviously they got a shot of potentially making a playoff run. Part of the reason why the Lakers were able to make that playoff run and get to the Western Conference Finals is because they had Memphis and Golden State, who had no answer for Anthony Davis, and those were just better matchups for the Lakers. Matchups are a big part of what happens in the postseason and your success. Okay, I'm going to get to some of these comments here in just a second. And let's see what else here. Let's see what else we got here. All right, I'm going to look at some of these comments in just a second. If you got some Ask Slees, go ahead and throw them in there, and I'll try to get to those in just a second. I see a couple of them right now. All right, I'm going to highlight a couple of those. We'll get to your Ask Slees in just a second. Let me just do something real quick on the baseball front. And by the way, I did not miss these. Good Sirius who put this. See, how about the Dodgers and the Padres too? I said this before, and thank you for the super brother. And I'll say it again. Expected from the Dodgers. I think the surprise is that the Padres started off this hot against two teams that I thought were going to be good. The Braves and obviously Cleveland Guardians had a good year last year as well. All right, let's take a look at another one here. John Wayne, there's a reason why we see 60-point triple doubles, no defense. Depends who you're playing. Depends the team. I think Nikola Jokic is truly, truly one of the greatest players to ever play the game, 3-time MVP. It's not like you're seeing 60-point triple doubles once a week. Not very often. And Nikola Jokic is one of those players that is able to do everything. The 10 points, 10 rebounds, no problem. I mean, what did he have? What was his 2020 stat? I don't know how many points he had. Did he have a 30, 20, 20 or something like that? I forgot what he had. But Jokic is just a special player. Let's get another one here. Slee, any chance of getting Yates for baseball? You know, Yates got his show now that he's doing on the network. Him and I texted when that just happened. Big fan of Yates. Yates is a good dude. I'm a big fan of Yates personally. Have known him over the years. Good dude. Let me think about that. Let me potentially work on that. But I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the super. Okay, a couple quick things on the baseball front, and then a couple last sleeves, and then we get the hell out of here. Jackson Merrill. For those who don't know, Jackson Merrill, very much young stud, came up through the farm system for the San Diego Padres, signed a 9-year contract with the Padres and 9-year extension for the Padres. Extension's worth $135 million. It could potentially reach $204 million, including options. Deal starts in 2026. Let me just say this about Jackson Merrill and the Padres here real quick. The Padres, they got some very questionable contracts, that long-term contracts on that team. I think one of the worst contracts in baseball, Xander Bogaerts, they signed to, I think, an 11-year deal, just an absurd contract. You could look at Manny Machado and say to yourself, okay, what's that contract going to look like in 5 years? Just how is that going to age? Well, wait, there's question marks. This is a no-brainer. Getting a guy like Jackson Merrill, this young, this productive, I think last year, 90 RBIs, over 20 home runs, a solid batting average, guy that can steal bases as well, solid outfielder. It's a good signing for the San Diego Padres. Jackson Merrill locked up for a little bit here. I mentioned Padres 6-0, Dodgers 7-0. Dustin May yesterday made his return. Just kind of an absurd pitching staff. And if you got Dustin May pitching 5 innings and not giving up an earned run, and Dustin May was one of the guys for these last couple of years that everybody just kept talking about the potential he has, how dirty some of his stuff is. And if he's also a part of the rotation and is really, really good, Dodgers now, by the way, 7-0, I think a franchise record for them as well. Yeah, I don't know what you do with that team. So you already got Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow was really good in his start that he had a couple nights ago as well. Roki Sasaki, give the man some time. I don't understand the overreaction on him. Ohtani eventually is going to get in this starting lineup. Will eventually pitch again. Dustin May. I'm probably missing somebody because they have so many pitchers. You might get some other health that comes back down the road as well. Pretty impressive. I saw this. Not that this is, much to talk about. Angels 4-1. Who the hell have they played? Let me just look here. 4-1. I would screenshot this. I would screenshot the AL West if you're a Los Angeles Angels fan. They beat the White Sox and they beat the Cardinals. So they're 4-1 to start out the season. All right. Interesting. Kind of fun. We'll see how many of these teams can kind of hold on to what they're doing as far as some of the success that they've had. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments here, and then we're going to get out of here. See if we got any ass sleeves here. Alex Renteria. After this year, when the Padres start losing their starting pitching, they will feel these contracts. Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it's really just going to always come down to if you don't got pitching, you don't have anything. So I will give credit to A.J. Preller because he's kind of found a way to keep the Padres interesting and competitive. So we'll see what he's able to do. But he's also given up he had to give up a lot of talent in order to go get some of the guys that he's got over the last couple of years. Xander Bogaerts hits 300 this year. Hey, I'll go buy a jersey if he hits 300. If he's batting anywhere around 280, I'm ready to go buy a jersey. But just not a good contract. That's the best way that I can put it. All right, let's see here. I had a couple. I got a couple here that I starred. All right. What would you do with this channel during the NBA offseason? Or what will you do with this channel? It's a good question. I think, here's the good news, and I'm going to continue. There are a lot of NBA fans and Laker fans that are on this channel. So I think it is, however far the Lakers go in the playoffs, we're obviously going to be covering that. Through the NBA Finals, we're going to cover that. All of a sudden, NBA free agency becomes a huge topic. You're going to be covering that. Baseball, I'm going to hit on as well, but I think I still need to kind of figure out, what does the audience want a lot of that, or does the audience just want a little bit of that? So it's going to be the first off season that I'm experiencing with the channel as well. So I think there's going to be a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of learning in that process as well. All right, let's get another one in here. Slee, who would you like to see the Lakers play in the first round? Memphis Grizzlies. Give me the Grizz. That's who I want to see. They look like they're in disarray. They look like they're a team that's moving in the wrong direction. I think the Lakers beat Minnesota, but I think it's a tough series. I think the Lakers beat Clippers. I think I don't really know what to make of the Clippers. I can't tell. Are they good or are they not good? So I'm not 100% sure on that front as far as what the Clippers would be. Slee, do you get migraines too? Okay. I'm going to tell you a quick ESPN LA story here. Okay. When I was at that station, and it wasn't just at the station because I get these other places as well, I got this weird light thing that goes on that sometimes light will trigger like a migraine for me. And that's only happened over the last couple of years. So it's it's kind of it's a weird thing. Sometimes it's the lighting. Travis used to have above his head, right? Try to get good lighting in there. We'd have video production, everything else. And there'd be lighting in there that just went right through my freaking eyes. And then all of a sudden I would just get these like weird migraines that came out of nowhere. So that's kind of to answer your question there. All right, let's get another one of these in here. Ask Slee, by the way. You can ask about anything. You want to ask me a couple questions, sports related, you can. You want to ask random questions, then like this one here. Look, these are the ones I kind of like. Angela. By the way, we're chilling now. We're hanging out. Eventually, I'm going to have to go take the dog out here, but we're hanging out here. So thank you for being a part of the show. Ask Slee, what does Slee go to town on first when he goes to a buffet? Angela, I like your question here. I like your question. First off, let me just say this. Younger Slee, love buffets. Love them. I mean, I had a plate. I was mixing every country that you could think of. You want to talk about diversity? You come to my plate at a buffet. Okay? My Mexican food sitting there with my spaghetti. The spaghetti touching elbows with my ribs. The ribs touching elbows with my Mongolian beef. You want to talk about I was the United Nations when I went to a buffet. I go hot food first. I don't really mess around with the salads. I'm not really trying to get in here and get to the soups. If I'm at a buffet, I'm just seeing all these things that are going off. Like there's triggers in my mind. It's like, Slee, let's get to work here. I'm not a big dessert guy. I like the savory food. So I'm going in and I'm mixing. It's the United Nations on my plate. I got orange chicken standing tall next to my fettuccine Alfredo. We're together. We're together as one. Phenomenal question. I like that question there. All right, let's keep going here. It's a good question. Look, these are the ones that I'm looking for. If you're in Vegas, do you gamble? If so, what is your game? Okay. Not a big gambler. Not a big gambler. However, I like poker. But I like poker in a more casual setting with buddies, with friends, things along those lines. Okay? A couple times I was in Vegas and Lakers would have a preseason game. When we would host clients out there and things along those lines, Lakers would always have their preseason games down in Vegas. They still do. So I went. There's a good friend of mine who used to also be a partner when I was at 710 ESPN. Ron Sarabi. Okay, he runs the Gardens Casino in Los Angeles, and I've known the guy for years. Actually, a good mentor of mine as well. Phenomenal guy. So there was a moment where him and I, he's like, "Hey, I want to go play some. I want to go play some poker." I'm like, "Let's do it." I've been playing online poker. I've played poker with a couple of buddies. I'm trying to get rich. Let's get in this. When I tell you I got hustled so quick playing poker with these people, I think people in Vegas saw that I was sitting at the table, and then all of a sudden, people just came for other tables and was like, "Here's some easy money. Here's some easy money." Every time I tried to bluff, I got called. Every time that I thought I had a hand, somebody would just basically come in stronger and I would fold. I mean, I got used and abused in Vegas. So to answer your question about gambling in Vegas, only gambling I've done is poker. And I'm not just, I just don't gamble much. You know, slots, things along those lines, not my cup of tea. All right, let's take a look here. Eddie's. This is good. Is there a Rafi's equivalent down in San Diego? There's a restaurant in Rancho San Diego in El Cajon called Sahara restaurant. I don't know if that's the equivalent. There's another place in downtown San Diego that's like a Persian restaurant. Rafi's is kind of a little bit more nicer dining, I guess you can call it. The Sahara place that I'm talking about, it's a little bit more casual. There's a lot of really, really good casual restaurants, Middle Eastern restaurants in El Cajon specifically. A lot of these grocery stores have phenomenal hot food spreads as well. Middle Eastern markets have these great spreads as well. All right, let's see what we're doing. Alex Renteria. Leslie, Lent ends on April 17th. Coffee the next Friday morning. All right, let me see what we got here. April 17th. No, not for us. We go all the way to Sunday, April 20th. I'm not going to do coffee. My first cup of coffee is going to be on Monday, April 21st. And it's going to be right here on the show. So first cup of coffee, we're going to do it together. I'm going to have a cup of coffee with everybody when it's time to have coffee. I'll have gone 50 days without coffee. All right, let's get a couple more Ashleys here. Good questions, by the way. Phenomenal. And then I get people yelling at me. Felix just yells at me. Felix, where's your question? I don't know which one. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let's keep going. Now, Felix, I might find your question. I might not answer it. You yelled at me. Craig, do you go to farmers markets? Love the concepts of farmers markets. Here's the thing I like about a farmers market. I'll give you a good example. Near my office in Solana Beach, there's a farmers market every Sunday from, I want to say, noon to 4. Okay. Good farmers market. Here's the one thing about the farmers market. I'm not there to go buy groceries for the week. Like and maybe I should do that, but shit's expensive. So I'm not typically doing that. But I'll tell you what I do like about farmers markets. You go there and there's like a place that has just, it's like a fresh bakery and they got all these unbelievable breads and pastries and all that stuff. Or in this place that I'm talking about, the one in Solana Beach, they have food vendors. There's one vendor specifically. I wish I knew the name of it. Let me see if I could actually find it. I'm going to see if I could find it because there's one that does hot food. Oh, yeah, this is it. East African cuisine. East African cuisine. There's a place there, and you got this, this older woman that's just making this unbelievable food. It's part of their food court that they have. East African cuisine. This is what I like about a farmer's market, is I can get kind of this phenomenal food, and it's not the traditional food that I'm typically eating. So there's your answer right there. Slee, the torpedo bats. I still don't know anything about the torpedo bats. I still don't fully understand the torpedo bats. I genuinely do not understand what's happening with that. So if somebody wants to educate me, you can educate me. Slee, your ideal closing lineup in the playoffs. All right, I got it. I don't even think I got to think too hard on this one. LeBron, Luka, Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith. Here's a question. How much size do we need? But I'm probably going Vando unless I need Hayes. So that's probably my closing 5 that I'm putting. I got Rui as well. Do I need offense? Do I need defense? No, I think I'm trying to get another defender in there. So that for now is my closing 5. I'll put Vando in there. All right, let's see what we got here. 420 is on Easter. Okay, all right. No, bless me. Rumor has it Slee was drinking coffee down in Solana Beach last night. We're going to need a PED test. Bro, I'm telling you right now, I've been phenomenal at this no coffee thing. And I've been okay. You know, to be honest with you, I've been, the world is not going to end, even though I'd like to have some damn coffee. Okay, are we good? I think we're good. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you for the bless yous. Thank you. Thank you for the bless yous there. All right, my people, I think we're good for today. Phenomenal show. Thank you for being a part of the show. Really enjoy. You know, I have a good time with these ass sleeves. Just kind of gets us off our regular conversation, and we take it from there. Tomorrow I'm back on at 8 a.m. Anthony Slater, who covers the Warriors for The Athletic, is going to join the show. So we'll definitely get you all ready and previewed for that game. I know Sammy is going to be working on a preview video as well, and he was probably going to have a guest on as well. It's just such a big game coming up tomorrow, so we'll be able to do that. Shout out to Lauren Jones for coming on the show. She was phenomenal. Really enjoyed having her on as a guest. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm for obviously being a partner of the show as well. And we will be back on tomorrow. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed, and please consider being a member if you're yet to be a member. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll get back with you guys tomorrow.